This is going to be one of those videos I don't attach fan art to, and I'm going to try to get through it quick because we have Rhino coming on. But I'm going to give a trigger warning. We are going to witness somebody near the final stages of their life. And look, this is a story about police abusing a teenager. You can leave the video now. You can leave the stream now. You have every ability to do so. I am not holding you here, and if your mental health cannot take it, then it is perfectly reasonable for you to leave. For those of you who are morbid enough and willing to look at the gross shit our police force do enough, well, here's the Twitter post that was sent to me. From Colin Rugg, new video released shows a terrified 19-year-old autistic teen, Isaiah Trammell, being taunted, threatened, and stripped naked before fatally injuring himself. Trammell was arrested on March of 2023 after suffering from a mental health episode. Trammell was begging for his medication, however, officers ignored his desperate requests. "Let me out," he shouted as he banged his head against the cell door before being rushed to the hospital, where he died 3 days later. The police had been called by Trammell's neighbors after he spent the night banging his head against the wall. I'm kind of terrified already because this is the shit I used to do pre-therapy. So I've talked about it a little bit, but before I went to therapy, when I got overwhelmed and just needed the world to correct itself, I would physically abuse myself. I would ram my head against the wall. I would destroy things. Nothing good or positive, and it took a fucking over a year in therapy to get to the point where I was functional enough to deal with those parts of myself. And I'm still at a point where I get urges to do so, but I'm past the point of doing them all the time. I'm at the point now of wishing that I could afford medication to deal with those things. So, yeah, this is hitting home in a very uncomfortable way. Maybe the trigger warning should have been for myself at this point, but I don't know. When he spoke to the officers, he said he was trying to get rid of the crazy in his head. Yeah, this is starting to get a little too close to home. So when I did it, again, it was because everything would get too complicated, would get too much, and it was the only thing that made everything stop. So yeah, this is a bit much. The Montgomery County Jail Coalition is now calling the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections to investigate Trammell's death. Okay. So, please tell me. Okay, this is a censored one. Apparently, this particular teenager did have medication and was not able to get it because of the police officers. So, this is your last chance for the trigger warning. Please let me make a call. Please let me make a call. What the fuck is that cell? A stone fucking slab? And nothing but hard concrete everywhere? What the fuck is that? Oh, I know! That's the same fucking shit that I was put in when I had my, my car. When I wasn't able to afford insurance on my car. Yeah, you know, perfectly reasonable accommodations. For me, it was being put in a group cell that was this one open toilet where everybody had to smell you shit and see you piss. The water fountain was located right next to it as well, which meant that you got to have lovely fecal fumes in there. Yeah, I had a serve safe, so I knew what the fuck those were. And, oh, by the way, on top of that, they would blast cold air at you every 10 minutes just to make sure you were kept pacified and couldn't get to sleep. You know, humane shit. This is why people say ACAB.
Then have a seat and chill out. Sit down. Sit down.
This is a 19-year-old. This is a 19-year-old who has barely any experience as an adult yet, doesn't have medication, and is currently being kept in effectively a slab of rock.
He would hit his head.
Hey, gentlemen.
You know, it's amazing to me that not one officer during any of this thought, hey, maybe we should do something to stop this person from injuring themselves.
Guys, lock back down. Let's go. Everybody.
Please, let's talk about this.
No, there's no talking.
There's no talking. You can just keep on bludgeoning yourself, apparently.
I do know they stripped him naked. And he hated his body to be exposed. And he kept telling them that.
So, he apparently already had some kind of prescription medication that would help with this. This brain would be physically in pain. And yeah, literally nobody here understands jack shit about mental health. This is why the police should have absolutely no business when it comes to mental health calls. Years and years and years ago, far before the time I had a channel, I actually did have a very bad suicidal episode where instead of trying to help me, my then partner, a partner who did other shit later, but we're not going to talk about that, my then partner, about, 8, 9 years ago, some silly amount, decided to call the police on me. Now, what I needed at that point was empathy. What I needed at that point was a friend. What I needed at that point was not my partner to run to their partner's house and go play D&D, while calling the police to get the police to check on me. I was lucky in that the police officers that came to check on me were ones that I knew, because I had been working as a manager at Quick Trip, and these were police that were regulars at that store. So I didn't tend to have too much issue because I had already established a rapport with them to begin with. What I needed then was somebody to look at me like I was a normal human being, not somebody that needed to be put into the police's responsible care. The police are not responsible care for people. Now, I say this as somebody who has also called the police when somebody has been having an episode like this. I'm not guilty of this. In the situation where I did it, I wanted to make sure that a friend of mine that I could not physically reach in time would survive. And they did survive, and I am still in contact with that person, even though they were angry at me for the police call at that time. But I didn't have any option at that point. In this case, the person involved did have an option, and I pleaded with them about that option. Thankfully, after therapy, I don't tend to have episodes like that anymore. But having been there, having dealt with this, having been in these kinds of concrete rooms, albeit bigger and with a group of people, police aren't fucking social workers. And the fact that our society treats them like such is really fucking concerning.
Please, the quickest we get me your meds, the earliest they might stop.
When all you have is a hammer, everything's a nail. And I know it's hard to watch, but
Is it Isaiah? Yes. Isaiah.
The doctor told me, had we gotten him sooner, we could have saved him.
Trammell arrived at the hospital unconscious. He was on life support for 3 days before he died. So, this person told you over and over again, there are meds that I need. And the police decided not to give him them. Ikari says every officer in this video needs to be fired. Yes, they do, but I guarantee you they all are. They all are still working. So, here's the part that pisses me the fuck off. As if everything else didn't piss me the fuck off when it came from this. A state review of this jail, and because of the inmate death that happened here, said that they found no deficiencies in that jail. The internal review found that we did nothing wrong internally. Yeah, of course they did. They always do. The Montgomery County Jail Coalition is calling the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections to investigate the deaths of inmates at the Montgomery County Jail last year. The deaths, plural? What the fuck? Oh, so we have one death we're talking about, and then a lot more as well. Yeah, the police determined the police did nothing wrong. Imagine that. Sheriff's Office officials in a statement to the Dayton Daily News on Monday said the ODRC's Bureau of Detention reviewed the death of Isaiah and found no deficiencies in how the Sheriff's Office handled the fatality. So, denying the person medication, recognizing they were in a very bad mental state and not putting them on, say, suicide watch, not putting them in a room where they could not injure themselves, none of that is considered non-deficient? Look, I recognize that stochastic terrorism is a very important topic, and that when a content creator says that there is something that they want done to a facility, if it happens, there is a level of the onus that is on them. I recognize that, which is why I'm going to plead with every fucking one of you not to do anything when I say every single person here should be fired. Take that for what you will. Said reviews are supposed to find out how to be better, not find out which rules were violated. Tramel's death was among 7 others reported from January through July of last year, and in December a man died after being transferred from the jail to the hospital. Dayton Daily News reporting revealed more inmates died at the Montgomery County Jail last year than all of 21 and 2022 combined, leading for calls to the community to take action. Our analysis of state data showed that more people died after coming into custody of the Montgomery Jail than any other jail in Ohio. The Dayton Daily News investigated what was causing this rash of fatalities and what county officials are doing about it. Tramel's death received renewed attention this week after a USA Today report investigation highlighted the March 2023 death of 19-year-old Tramel, a disabled man who tried striking his head multiple times during a mental health crisis, in an investigation in jail deaths across all of Ohio. Video of the incident shows corrections officers threatening and insulting Tramel as he struggled to control himself and asked for medication. Yes, their internal review found that nothing was wrong with looking at somebody in an obvious mental health crisis and insulting them like that. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong at all. Said also jail, not prison, meaning people were not yet found guilty of anything. Yep, jail is your holding place before you go on trial and find yourself in prison later if you actually did something wrong. Destiel says this is way down the list of terrible things here, but didn't we have padded rooms like a century ago for exactly the reason that people would throw themselves against the wall? No deficiencies were found, Death's Head. Not a single one. Not in behavior, not in accommodations, nothing. No deficiencies whatsoever, don't you know? Medical and mental health providers at the jail provided treatment for to Trammell from the time he was booked into jail until the time he was transported to a local hospital. Although the people facing charges for violent crimes shouldn't be released to society to deal with, our community needs a medical facility with a lockdown unit that can better handle those who are in a crisis. The sheriff's office provided the Dayton Daily News with an April 2023 email from State Jail Inspector Steve Holland to Matt Haynes, who was Montgomery County Jail's commander at the time and was since promoted to chief deputy of the sheriff's office. Ah, yes. That's what should be on the new. That's what should be on the docket for people who are like these officers. Fucking promotions. This is why people say ACAB, guys. This is the exact reason why people say ACAB. Our first responders do not necessarily need more training. We need a different stock of first responders who are not violent like this. Said self-inhumane brutality. Yep. So, there's a post from Joshua Walker here that says there's much more that people haven't learned. Isaiah should be alive today from a friend. With this post here saying, holy shit, the lead is buried in this one. Autistic teen dead after being brought in under a warrant that should never have been issued. As a result of a meltdown under police custody, this was ruled a suicide. Also, funny how the local news isn't reporting on this, and the article is from all the way in Columbus. Where the fuck are you, DDN, which is Dayton, Daily Dayton News? TLDR, autistic teen is brought in on an old warrant of which no charges were pressed from over a year prior because he was having a meltdown and his neighbors didn't like the noise. The warrant, by the way, his family wasn't even aware existed, even though it originated from their 911 call. His mother stated that this was the sort of 911 call that comes from safety concerns. Like, we'll always call when he begins to rage. It's a mental health call, not an arrest me call. The fucking pigs still issued a warrant. Less than 10 hours after entering the jail, Dayton paramedics loaded Trammell into an ambulance. Inside the Montgomery County Jail, guards taunted, belittled, and threatened Isaiah, who had autism spectrum disorder. Trammell couldn't calm himself. He banged his head on the cell door, howled, and repeatedly screamed, "Let me out." Montgomery County Sheriff Rob Strick said that Trammell shouldn't have been in the jail given his mental health issues. You know, except that he did end up there. I like this brain dead comment here too, because nobody ever throws a fit and screams, "Let me out of here." You want to penalize the police for coming when called? The family couldn't control him. Why are you putting it on law enforcement to do so? They're not your caregivers. Either force medicate or institutionalize them. Because those are certainly the ways to deal with them. So I love how he says, force medicate? Dude, the guy begged for medication. He begged to be medicated. He begged for the one thing that he knew would make this problem go away. And yet, the police did not let that happen. Dumbass here wants to say force medicate or institutionalize. My guy, the institutionalizing didn't happen in the first place, and that system's fucking broken too, and the medication didn't happen either, despite him asking for it. No force was ever fucking necessary. But that's all I'm going to say on random dipshits on Twitter.com. As I've said in another episode, fuckers I don't understand on Twitter don't exist to me. Because they can't exist to me. Because my world is better when I pretend they aren't there. But yeah, apparently there were no deficiencies in this particular jail. Fuck these police. I hope every single one of them gets fired. Insert end of video tagline here. Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Nixie-chan, the Oberon team, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you. Sagittarius, I'm not saying that part. And Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.